I've got a confession to make.
I need to get this off my chest. As a business owner, we all make mistakes.
I've got to confess.
And we are live. Time for another episode of Confessions of a Business Owner. So thrilled to have you on here once again, my fellow co-host, Kim Barrett. How you doing, dude?
Doing super well, Sir C. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And for those of you that are watching on the video, you'll see that me and Kim have become incredibly frightened of blue light. And we are both wearing our blue blockers at the moment, which I think makes all the difference. Kim, are you enjoying the blue blockers?
It is. I feel so much more relaxed now. Normally I'm on edge. Now I'm just chilling, just maxed relaxed.
Well, I'm very curious on these. And for anyone that isn't aware, blue blockers are effectively like glasses, and they have, what would you call it, yellow or orange lenses in it. And they block the blue light from your computer screens or phones, which effectively is the light that makes us think that it's daylight all the time. So the side effect of these, or basically the effect I'm looking to create, is apparently, and I won't claim to be a medical expert or put a disclosure on that, is that they will actually help us get to sleep more easier in night. So I'm very curious to see if these work or not, Kim. We might have to do a whole episode on blue blockers at some point.
Oh, well, there's so many benefits. We'll save it for that episode because I don't want to take away. I don't want to be ineffective in our conversations today.
Ooh, nice tie-in. So today's topic on the podcast, and I think this is a really important one, is we're talking about being effective over being efficient. And I'm going to put it out, this is probably one of the most important topics for business owners at all levels. If you can be more effective, it just makes such a difference.
110%. And there's so, as you were kind of discussing before we started, there's so many different things out there talking about productivity, time management, all these things, but they don't really address a core issue, which you kind of identified, which I thought was just a brilliant pickup, because so many people talk about it and it's like, well, you can spend all your time trying to learn how to manage your time. It's that ridiculous, the amount of different things that people tell you what to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting information. And like, as you said, a wide range of topics there. So you've got time management, number one. You've got productivity is another topic. You've got efficiency. You've got effectiveness. And then you've got layers and layers of sub-niches through there that are often conflicting on these topics. Overall, it all comes back to, how do we get the most out of our time, and, what's an approach to being more effective. But I want to tell the backstory so everyone's on the same page with us. So a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago to be fair, I actually got a speaking gig, which I'm doing this week. So I've got a speaking gig that I'm going and doing, and I'm going to get a room full of business owners and get to teach them some stuff. And the topic, or the challenge I got set for this speaking gig, was to help a room full of business owners basically get more out of their time. Like, how do they be more efficient? How do they be more productive? And I thought, absolutely, I've got an outsourcing company. Time is something I would say that I'm fairly good with, and I'm even going to say have mastered to a degree, where I've been able to create a whole bunch of leverage. This is definitely the topic I want to teach other business owners about. And then I thought, I better get a bit in tune on this topic. Like, I want to start reading some other material and watching some other videos and see what's happening in the world of productivity and all that. So I spent the weekend starting to go through and reading books on productivity. I won't name any on here because I don't want to bad name any of them or anything like that, because I think many of them were reasonable. But time and time again, I came to the same conclusion with all these books. All these books would give you ideas about how to be more efficient. So it's how to do things more quickly, but overwhelmingly, they wouldn't actually help you understand what are the right things to do at all. So I'll give you a really good example here is let's, pretend for a second that in your day, you are making drink bottles. So I've got a drink bottle here. You make drink bottles. Now, a lot of these courses and books and ideas will teach you how to make drink bottles quicker, like how to schedule your time to make that. But very few of them address the idea of, well, should you be making drink bottles at all? Is this how you should be spending your time? Like, they missed the idea of how to be more effective, and we're all really focused on just getting more output from there. And I feel like this is just a huge gap.
So, so true. And like you said, I mean, even if you're making drink bottles, you might become then you can bang out and make 100,000 labels, but you made no bottles.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, oh, well, okay. I did what they said. I was so productive, but it's not actually applicable to what I'm doing right now. So, how does this work? And I always liken it to, if you don't mind me chiming in, like a game of golf, right? It's like you can be really fast at hitting the ball. However, if I can drive and land on the green and then I can put it into the hole in one shot, it doesn't matter if you can do 50 shots in the same amount of time it takes me. I get there in two, I win.
Especially in golf, that's a great example. I kind of think of it like, imagine you're trying to get somewhere. So imagine like you're trying to, I'm trying to go from Melbourne to Perth in this example here. Now, the effective way to go there versus the efficient way to go there are very, very different. And I think that for a lot of business owners, they're confused and they're going inefficient. So I want to do an idea is that if I had to get to Perth and I just got in my car and I started driving around and eventually I ended up in Perth, like eventually I would. I just keep driving and I focus on being quicker at driving. So I'm going to drive quicker and quicker. That's where I'm going to focus and be quicker versus using Google Maps and finding the fastest route to the destination I wander up and then just going that way is the way I kind of liken it. But golf is a fantastic way to view that, Kim. I love that analogy.
And as you said, like I think it's just there's so many things that can pop up during the day, and it's like yes, you can create 100. You can create your big three, and then your 10 small rocks, and you're going to tick them off all through the day. But if all of them are not actually going to help you reach the goal, then what's the point?
You just picked the one that drove me up the wall in all these books. So overwhelmingly, there were some themes in these books. And this was one of them was like, pick the most, or your big three things for the day. Okay, pick the most important things for your day and then do them first. But none of the books I read gave you any idea on how to select what those big three should be. It was a little bit frustrating up to a point. I'm going to make a claim on here as well that I believe, and this is most business owners are doing a lot of things they shouldn't be doing and are having zero impact on their business, but they think they are. And they're focusing on being efficient or doing more of them rather than focusing on being effective or even have a filter to be effective in their business.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, really, as you say, in a day, there may be like calls, meetings, like 50 different things. However, all you may need to do today to reach your goal is serve your clients and make some sales. You only have two things to do. So if you were more efficient and were able to get those done, right? Like there's so many different things you have to weigh up as a business owner.
So I want to put it out there, Kim. How do you manage your time or select the things that you're going to be worked on for an effectiveness point of view?
Well, everything that I do kind of ties back to what my personal goals are at the moment. Like we have our business goals and we have our personal goals. So for me, the three things that are currently on my list of my goals that I want to achieve over the next month and a half, 2 months, being we're in the middle of August at the moment, is that I want to hit a certain sales target. I want to have my team performing a certain amount of the tasks that I do, and I want to have the systems and processes in place of what I do so anyone else can implement them. So every day, like my big three, pretty much every single week, things for the whole week that I want to achieve is a certain figure of sales, is creating a certain amount of things for delegation. So basically delegating everything that I don't actually have to do myself. Every day, first thing is a forcing me to do it. Otherwise, I just do it myself. And then creating leverage, which we've talked about on this podcast before, which is building in the systems, looking and connecting with people who potentially can become team members, things like that. They're like, as long as I hit those three things each day, then I'm on track to reaching my goals.
Yeah, I like that approach. And you've just nailed something that I'll talk a little bit later on about this podcast. But it's like you're deciding your actions based on goals you have. Like you're using that as, does this move me closer towards what I actually want to achieve?
Yeah, 100%. And what about yourself, Mr. C?
Oh, it's not over yet. There's some more interrogation to go before we hand this one over.
I thought I was going to be over and done with. Oh, no.
And what about specifically your time then? when it comes to, let's say you've identified these big three things, are you
Mhm.
working in the mornings? Do you work in the afternoons? I presume you're not a night owl, but you might be.
Well, I am an addict, right? I do need my patches, like my business patches, to stop me from doing stuff in my business. So the way that I like to do it is first, like I also as well, like I block out all my time for what if I want to do. Like for example, in the middle of the day, I want to do a meditation. In the morning, I have the gym. The afternoon, from 4 o'clock, nothing can be booked. So I kind of set up my parameters of the day. That's like, cool. That's what's left. What do I do from there? So I normally block out the first 90 minutes of my day. I call it my most important time. It's like, cool, what's like, again, then of my big three, today, if I only got one of them done, what would I be happy with? So one day, like maybe yesterday I didn't make any sales. I'm like, cool, today, leverage and delegation, I can think about them later. I want to focus on that. So in the morning, I'll like focus on it going, cool, where are my follow-ups? What's my email blast, messenger blast, maybe checking my calendar for sales appointments who I can bring forward. That will be my first focus. So my first 90 minutes, like 90 minutes. It's like 7:30 to 9. Yeah, 90 minutes is done going, cool, what's like if I just do that and the rest of the day, like literally something blew up, I would still be happy. So I do that, and then the rest of the day, kind of what happens from there happens from there.
Nice. I like it. It's a fairly common thread. I found that to be an effective approach for a lot of people. I will dig into mine a little bit from there, but I do things a little bit slightly different, but very similar at the same time. So much like you, and this is probably an exact copy, is that I decide all my actions based on goals. Like everything that's getting inputted to what we spend energy to has a intended effect, I should say. Not everything ends up that way, but it's like an intended effect to bring me closer towards my goals. Now, I used to do the same thing as you and have the big three or the things I was going to focus on for that day. And I ended up changing it to a different philosophy I call winning the week. I found from my point of view, the daily three just wasn't working for me, in all honesty. I didn't like that. I felt like it was always putting pressure on a certain day. And not that can be very helpful for some people, but I felt like I wasn't setting big enough targets or creating big enough things in the day that I could necessarily get excited about when compared to a week. So what I can get done in a week is, tremendously bigger than what I can get done in a day. And I'm sure that's for the same for all people. So what I like to do, and this is my approach to managing my time, is that on Monday morning, I get up on the Monday morning and the first thing I do is my weekly planning. So this is an hour block for me that no one can get into. I don't even have my computer on. It's just my notebook. And I might have my Evernote or calendar open, but definitely no internet or social media stuff. It's just a very internal time. And I review the last week. I review all our dashboards and financial information. So I've got a really good state of where the business is at right now and reflective on what's happened in the past. And then what I actively do is plan out what I want to have done by the end of the week for myself personally and for my team. And then what I like to imagine is, by the end of the week, what would need to be done for me to call this a winning week and for us to have made progress towards our goals. And then I schedule out my whole calendar for the week with all those activities. So literally, you could look on my calendar right now. I won't share my screen, but in that calendar right now, you can see like when I'm going to do all the activities to make sure that I win that week out. So it's quite an advanced planning system. It's not just to the day. And then straight after that hour planning session, I have a team meeting, and that's when I give everyone else this plan for the week so that I can get all the leverage of getting everyone else to do these things. So this is, as you said, for you, it's like, what do you delegate? So I get as much as I can off to my team and delegate it to my team so that they also have their time scheduled out and know what winning the week should look like from their point of view. So myself and my company, we're all on like a weekly frame, which I've just found to be very, very helpful from our point of view. And this is something I've really enjoyed doing from there. Not only that, one of the kind of like side benefits of doing this I found is it allows my team to work in more autonomy. They're less reliant on me on a day-to-day because they've got their whole week set out. And then what we do on the back of that is every morning we might make some adjustments, or we have, our morning huddle or communications just in case anything's come up. But that is the general flow of how I run out my weeks and focus on kind of being effective from my point of view.
That's really cool. And what was like, when did you implement that? Like how recent or long ago, like how long have you been running that style of management for your diary and time?
Yeah, so it'd be just, I want to say it was about last October is when I made the switch into this thing. And I'm going to put it out there. I think it was one of the best things I did. And I feel like on this topic, there certainly is a degree of personalization. Like what I do may not work for you, and what you do may not work for me. So I think you have to, a little bit like diets, you've got to find a management system that works for you from there. But the overwhelming thing, and this is what I love to see that we have in common here, Kim, is that we've both managed to create a filter to make sure that we're effective with this stuff. Like, it's not like we're trying to be more efficient at things that aren't moving us towards our goals. And that's what I think is a really great thing across the board from both of us here.
Yeah, 100%. And as you said, like it's, to be honest, like I think it just means you have much more time spinning wheels otherwise. Like, will you get there? Probably. Will it take you probably a lot longer? Yes. When it's kind of somewhat counterintuitive. And I always remember the I think it was the Abraham Lincoln quote, whether or not he actually said it or not. But it's like, if I had 7 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 6 hours sharpening the axe. It's like you know, like you need to put a lot. It may take you. You may perceive to be taking longer, but you're actually getting there faster.
I reckon most business owners are spending about 3 minutes sharpening the axe.
100%, so true.
You can tell I'm a little bit like grinding my gears on this one, because like that's how I feel a little bit. Like we're both in B2B space, and we spend a lot of time with other business owners. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of amazing people out there, but I am certainly frustrated for them. Like I'm frustrated watching them with how frustrated they are with their own results, but they're cutting down a tree with a blunt axe. There's nowhere near enough time spent working on themselves and their education. There's nowhere near enough time spent sharpening that axe and doing planning and things that allow them to be effective with their time. It's just like running around like a cowboy Wild West in a lot of circumstances.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, could not agree more.
So where I actually got this from, and this is a really interesting thing. So I've been doing this, as I said, for quite a while, and I feel like it's had a really good impact from me. But where I pulled this from was basically because a mentor at the time had passed the idea on to me. He said from his point of view, he didn't like daily planning on that type of thing. And he said it made his thinking too small. He said when he started to think bigger, that and enabled him to set bigger goals. And that's something that I'm really finding the same, is that we move bigger rocks with this weekly mindset rather than a daily mindset. So that's something I wanted to expand, and that's why I trialed it on, but I don't think I'll go back after the experience I've had. And then the question comes up, well, why don't you do it monthly? It seems to me that as soon as you cross weekends, that it's like it's clearing the slate. And especially for the team. It's hard for the team to stay focused on a monthly goal, but a weekly goal they push well towards.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as you said, I think it's finding what works for you rather than going, oh, Kim said one thing, Charley said one thing. You know, which one is it? Is finding which one is most likened to your style and business and how you operate. That still helps you get the same result.
Well, I would consider us both successful, Kim. I really would. I think we've both we've survived more than 12 months in business, so we've already beat 90%. But we've been doing this a long time now. And it's like, there's not many people I can look at and go, oh, a few certainly, but it's like those who last more than 5 years doing the same thing is a rarity. And anyone who does, I'm going to call successful in my filter. That's what defines it in my eyes. And both of us have certainly achieved that. And when I look at that, based on it, even though we've got very different approaches, I mean, there's some similarities, but like both of these methods are fine. And I'm sure there's other ones in time management that are certainly fine as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like we've been saying, it's like, it's just taking it for yourself and seeing what works best for you.
So some interesting things I want to kind of bring into the conversation here, because these are the things I was like, on the back of, getting this presentation here, I've gone into building a presentation on how to be more effective. And what I want to do now is kind of go through some ideas on how anyone can be more effective. All right, you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so the number one thing...
Hang on.
Just change
Right,
glasses.
get ready.
I find that somehow mine tilt. Like it's like I don't know if it's my head movements, but it feels like my glasses tilt a little bit here. But we're all good on that front. Okay, so I'm going to put it out there. One of the things that I think plays a massive role in how effective you are is your environment. Okay, so and I'm going to talk about this in layers, but it's like, if you're number one around other people doing big things, it will have an effect on you where you will be effective at that level. You will see people in your office and like, I'm just going to pretend you and me are in the same office at the moment. I look over and I see Kim doing Facebook ads and I'm not doing Facebook ads. All of a sudden, Facebook ads are going to be on my radar of, if he's doing that, maybe I should be doing that. So when you surround yourself around other business owners that are striving to achieve outrageous stuff, I think that definitely makes us more effective. Absolutely. The other side of that, or another way of viewing like that, is that when you go, and this is actually a true story, when I was in Bali, I went to a gym and I was basically the big dog in this gym, Kim. It was like a wellness club. And I went in there, I'm doing these weights and I'm like, I'm feeling like the alpha. I felt really good. And then the second gym I went to was Daily Gym. And I don't know if you've been to Daily Gym in Bali. Oh, sorry, Hammerhead Gym.
Hammerhead. Yeah,
Hammerhead, not Daily. Daily's a different one. Hammerhead. And I went in there and basically I am the smallest human in this gym. But it lifted the bar for me. I was like, all of a sudden I'm putting on much heavier weights than I was in the first gym because I felt, this completely altered view of how to keep up changed from there. So I think environment is such a big factor you have to look at if you want to be more effective, straight up.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's really interesting, even on the other side of that, is like I live in a neighborhood where my neighbor's got a Maserati. And it's like I never wanted a Maserati until I saw him get one. Now all of a sudden it's on my radar. Okay. So environmental factor number one, and I think anyone who's listening to podcasts and things like that makes a difference. But overwhelmingly, a factor that I think enables people to be more effective is number one, setting clear goals. If you want to decide how effective someone's being, there has to be something to measure it against. Like, how effective is Facebook ads? It has to be against a target. Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to be more effective, the first thing you must do is set clear goals. And this seems to come up in every topic. It really does. It's like, I've got to set my goals and I've got to define my target audience. Like overwhelmingly, that's in everything. But number one, set clear goals. The second thing that I think makes someone so much more effective is a method to evaluate the opportunities they have and prioritize the importance of those opportunities. And last week we did a podcast on the goal or the theory of constraints by Eli Goldratt. And what is really, really interesting in this idea is that to be more effective, you must assign some time to a space where you're going to organize and prioritize things. So for me, that's in my weekly planning. And for you, that's in setting your big three or your daily schedule from there, or whenever you're doing your time blocking. So that sphere of time where you're making an assessment on what's important and assigning the right opportunities is the second thing you need to be more effective. You can't ever launch into a day and be reactive. If you're reactive to the things that are coming at you from other spheres, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's as you said, like you've got to weigh up. It's like, and if you haven't listened to the podcast on the theory of constraints, go back and listen to it for sure. It's like when you know what you need to do, then you, as you said, you have to go, well, how can I? And it's actually a good thinking exercise anyway. If you don't know the answer, it's like if I knew what the answer was, what are the 5 different ways that I could help overcome this constraint or how I could help achieve this goal? And then just gets you thinking creatively to trying to come up with what an outcome could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you said is actually vitally important. Like it's a skill. Being effective is not a set thing. It's a skill, like Facebook ads or like I don't know, other skills people have, playing basketball.
Yeah. Outsourcing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's a practice, right? Because you go, well, okay, I'm thinking that this is the way to go. Like if we only ever had guidebooks before GPS has come out, we would still think that that's the way to go. However, things change, we adapt, and now we use our GPSs. And I'm sure there'll be something else after that we'll adjust to also. But if you only ever think there's one way to get there, then you're going to be forever stuck, as opposed to, as you said, you've got to take that time out to think, well, what other ways are there? Is there something that I'm missing?
Yeah, and standard point from here, I think I'm even going to call it great starting point is theory of constraints. I really do. I think every business owner could use that as their analysis tool. Like, where is the real problem I need to be working on? Would make a really big difference. And then the last point from here is I've found that effectiveness is not something you do once. Like, this needs to be a repeat cycle. So much like we were talking about Facebook ads or basketball in my comment or outsourcing, this is something you've got to do over and over again. So if you want to be great at being effective, number one, you set clear goals. Number two, you've got to have some sort of process or system for evaluating options and prioritizing their importance. You've got to be able to measure and analyze the results of those things you put in place and things you do, so you can see what's working and not what. And then you've got to continually repeat that cycle. That's how you be more effective, or a starting point to being more effective.
Yeah, 100%. As you say, it's like you can't just go, I delegated today, so effective, done. I never have to do that again. It's got to be done over and over again, and it will build like a muscle where then it's like, cool, next time you're trying to work out how to do it in the most effective way, your brain will start kicking in and go, okay, cool, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And then you have options, as opposed to at the moment, if you have, there was a, where was it? On Bintan. One of our friends, Jeremy, had this quote, and he said, if you have 3, you have 3. If you have 2, you have 2. If you have 1, you have none. What is it? Have I told you this before?
I've never heard this before. I'm dying to know the answer.
I'm going to put you on the spot, right? So if you have 3, you have 3. If you have 2, you have 2. If you have 1, you have none.
Decisions.
Or options, right? So it's like, if you have 1, you actually have no option. You can only do one thing. So if you haven't trained your brain to be effective, and you haven't been able to work these things out, it's like, well, you actually have no choice. You have to do that.
Well, do you know what's really interesting as well? And I bet this has happened to you, Kim. Have you ever gone on a holiday, right? And let's say, and I remember this experience for myself, I went to Thailand and I needed to work and then also be on a family holiday with some relatives and all these things. And somehow I would get up in the morning and I only had 2 hours, and I knew I only had 2 hours, and I would get my whole day's...
So much done.
Yeah, I'd get the whole day's work done, and then I'd go enjoy the rest of the holiday, and then always come back from this holiday going, why don't I just do that at home?
Just go on a holiday all the time. It'd be so much more effective.
But it's proof in the concept that when we put a constraint, like in that example, there's a constraint of time, or when we're forced to prioritize, we can. It's just that we're not being forced enough. And I think that's a really big factor in what we're talking about in this process, is we're trying to create an environment, funnily enough, where you're forced to prioritize what's important through this process, and then kind of stop wasting time from there. I could even look at today and like, really, I could have got all of today's work done in 3 hours, I reckon.
Yeah, so true.
Oh, it's frustrating from there. But is there anything you'd like to add in on this topic, Kim?
No, but I think the one thing I would say is just pick one area and start, because you're not going to don't try and overhaul your entirety of your life. And, don't try and apply it to everything from start to finish straight away, like bit by bit by bit, right? It's like you want to take it and apply it, keep applying it to different areas. Otherwise, you'll just try and it will become hard and you won't do it. So just identify the constraint, do it there, and see how the result happens.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you said there. And it's like, if you're not doing any time management or anything to be more effective with your time, if you are very reactive to your business right now, don't try and take in everything all at once. It's a madness idea. It's like, just start with one thing, which might even be your daily planning or your weekly planning, and build off of that. And over time, you will build up that skill and be able to manage your time so much better.
Yeah, so true. And all your husbands and wives are going to thank us for encouraging you to be effective over being efficient.
Absolutely. And that is the meat and potatoes of this episode, guys. Being effective is so much more important than being efficient. So, Kim, we might wrap it up on this one. Very important topic, but I'm glad we covered it from here. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, guys. I hope you enjoy it. That's it for this episode of Confessions of a Business Owner.